In my ongoing quest to create awesome video games, I try to keep up with all the tools developers are using to make them. There are of course the traditional and well-known game engines like Unreal and Unity, tried and true. There are also a bunch of niche or less well-known engines that people use. And then there's PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
For eons, teachers and presenters have fumbled their way through boring PowerPoints to the disinterest of distracted audiences. But today what I want to find out is if this dry and mundane tool can be used to make a functional video game. I'm gonna see if we can push the limits of Microsoft PowerPoint to recreate the most iconic VR game in existence. That's right, we're gonna make Beat Saber. First, let's do a little investigating. I'm by no means the only person who's tried to use PowerPoint in an unconventional way. People have used it as an imaging program to create illustrations, graphic designs, and animations. It can be used to make wireframes for websites and create mock-ups for mobile apps. You can even use PowerPoint to make videos because it allows you to export your presentations as video files. But most importantly for us, there are even a few examples of people using it to make games. Now, I know what you're wondering. What is the actual functionality within PowerPoint that enables you to make a game? Well, PowerPoint has a couple simple features that allow you to make your slideshow interactive. These things are called actions and triggers. Basically, actions and triggers make it so that the slideshow will only do things when you click on or hover over something on the slide. For example, you can use an action that makes the presentation advance to the next slide when you click on a shape. Similarly, you can use a trigger to start an animation when a shape is clicked on. So let's see how these simple features can be used to make a game. When searching for games made with PowerPoint, I found that many of them were made by educators and teachers. For example, this is a simple tic-tac-toe game. It's set up so that when you click on a square, an animation is triggered to change the square to an X or an O. And of course, the goal is to get 3 in a row. Then this is a picture reveal game where you click on tiles and try to guess what picture is hidden behind them. And this is a battleship game that works similarly, except you're trying to reveal the locations of hidden battleships. And these are all pretty neat, but the shortcoming of these kinds of games is that they have to be moderated by a person. What I want to see is if any truly interactive video games have been made with PowerPoint. And after a bit more digging, I came across some that fit the bill. Perhaps the most obvious type of game you can make with PowerPoint is a visual novel. Think of these like really fancy PowerPoint slideshows. In a visual novel, you're essentially just reading through a story, but the addition of music and sound effects can make for a pretty immersive and engaging experience. They can also be set up to where the player can make decisions in the story that will change its progression or give you a different ending. Then I came across some games that were more like point-and-click adventure games. In these, you get to interact with the environment a little more, and it feels like you have more options for where to go and what to do. Sometimes there will even be small puzzles you have to solve along the way. This game was actually the winner of the 2020 PowerPoint Game Jam hosted on itch.io, so you could check that out if you want to see what the PowerPoint game dev community has been up to. But what about games that actually take a bit of skill and coordination on the player's part? The kind of game that you're most likely to encounter in this category is a maze game. In a maze game, you have to navigate your mouse cursor through a series of mazes without touching the walls. There's always a starting point and an ending point. How they work is the walls are set up to where if you touch them with the mouse, you'll be taken to a slide in the PowerPoint that acts as a lose screen. Or, the current slide will be reset so you can try again. You can even have moving obstacles and switches along the way. It's actually pretty ingenious. Perhaps the most advanced maze game I found was called Don't Touch the Void by JB Squiddy. The game looks and sounds super polished, and I think people would be surprised to know it was made with PowerPoint. Now we're getting into a bit of uncharted territory when it comes to the complexity of games made with PowerPoint. While playing through the 2020 PowerPoint Game Jam entries, I came across this interesting little puzzle game. What you have to do is cross a level by deciding what order you should drop these blocks from the sky. If you get it right, your character can proceed. If you get it wrong, you have to try again. It's a very short game, but I think it uses the limited capabilities of PowerPoint in an interesting way. Another interesting PowerPoint game I came across was made by a popular developer named Polymars. In one of his videos, he made a game where you have to protect an egg from incoming flying objects by clicking on them before they reach the egg. He used a clever combination of animated paths, mouse click actions, and precisely timed slide changes to create a cool little game loop. But I think my favorite application of using PowerPoint as a game engine comes from another popular developer called Dev Banana. He remade the iconic rhythm game Osu. In Osu, you have to move your cursor and click on shrinking circles in time to music. Dev Banana was able to do this in PowerPoint by animating shrinking circles around smaller circles that appear in sync with the music track. If you click the circle at the right time, it will advance you to the next slide, which has another shrinking circle, and so on and so on. The whole design is really pretty ingenious. So now that we've seen the range of what's possible in PowerPoint, PowerPoint, let's push the envelope a bit more and start on our remake of Beat Saber. Just like Osu, Beat Saber is a rhythm game, but in this game, what you have to do is hit incoming blocks with 2 swords in sync to the music. The game calculates your accuracy as you play and lets you know how well you performed when the song is over. Now I know recreating this in PowerPoint is a tall order because Beat Saber is a VR game with 3D graphics. But luckily, I had a couple tricks up my sleeve. The first thing I did was find a bumpin' song because so much of the game revolves around music. I wanted to find one that wasn't too fast or too slow and had a strong beat. This one will work great. Next, I needed to make a stage. In Beat Saber, you play in front of this futuristic sort of space tunnel thing, and the beats come flying towards your face from the horizon in the background. So to mimic this effect and give our game 3 dimensions, I decided to do something I'd never seen anyone use before in a PowerPoint game, which is video. PowerPoint actually lets you embed videos into your slides and use them just like any other shape or object. So I found these stock videos of abstract tunnels that will serve as our background and make it feel like we're traveling forward towards the horizon. Now we need to have something for the player to strike in time with the music. Beat Saber of course uses those distinctive blocks that the player slashes through. But to keep our game on brand, I decided to use the PowerPoint logo for the blocks in our game. Then what I did was animate the logos on top of our background to zoom in towards the player and visually pulse when they reach them. I was intentional to make them randomly end up in one of the 4 quadrants of the screen. Cool. But this was a tricky part. I had to synchronize the arrival of the logos with the beat of the music. The process took me days, but I eventually got it done. I also made it so that the screen will shake with the arrival of each logo and the score up top will update to give the player feedback. So this is what the game looks like so far. As of now, the video just plays in the background of a PowerPoint slide and the beats come towards the player and disappear as if the player has hit them all with perfect timing. There's no real gameplay or interaction with the player yet, but here's where it starts getting interesting. Remember those 4 quadrants I talked about earlier? Well, those will be used to determine if the player has maneuvered the mouse cursor to the correct part of the screen in time with the music. But how will we check for this in PowerPoint? What I ended up doing was making a shape that covers every other quadrant of the screen except for where the player should position the cursor. Then I animated those shapes to appear and disappear right when the player should have their cursor in the correct quadrant. If the player's in the correct position when a logo block reaches them, nothing will happen and the video will continue on. And if they make it all the way to the end of the game, they'll win. But if the player's cursor is in the wrong position, then the shape will detect that the cursor is touching it and the game will switch to a game over slide. Okay, I think that's basically everything, so let's try it out. Excellent, our Beat Saber recreation is working. Right now, I'm playing it on my desktop using my mouse for controls. Cool, I'll just pat myself on the back cause my job's done. But wait, didn't I boldly claim at the top that I made a VR game with PowerPoint? How are we gonna achieve such a thing? Well, in my opinion, what makes a PowerPoint is that they are projected onto a screen. So I dug out an old projector and set it up so that I could stand inside the projection and play the game in a similar fashion to the real Beat Saber. But wait. How will the player control our game if they don't have a mouse? VR games use those fancy motion controllers, but what can we do? Well, you know those clickers that people use for PowerPoint presentations to advance to the next slide? It just so happens that some of them have a little feature inside called an air mouse that lets you control the mouse cursor by waving the clicker around. I can now stand inside our wondrous interactive PowerPoint rhythm game and groove to some sweet music. Alright, let's call it there. We can all go home now. But wait again, hold up. As cool and groundbreaking as the game is at this moment, you're thinking, great idea and all, but that's still not a true VR game. Well, it just so happens that I had a sort of 4th quarter eureka moment while I was writing this very script. I was thinking to myself, what if there was a way to take our PowerPoint rhythm game and run it on a VR headset? And wouldn't you know, thanks to the metaverse, there's a way to do just that. In the MetaQuest store, there's this app called Virtual Desktop that lets you control and use your PC in VR space. All I had to do was put on these goofy goggles, fire up my virtual desktop, and run our PowerPoint game on that. And now I present to you Point Saber, the first ever VR game made with PowerPoint. So that does it. I hope you enjoyed going on this strange development journey with me. Please subscribe and join my Discord if you want to see more. And remember, don't let anyone tell you that you can't make a game.